Hello there, right here guys. Welcome to a brand new snapshot. This is 23W14A, and on the menu screen here we got a new panorama which shows the awesome cherry blossom biome. Looks amazing. Besides getting this new lovely panorama, you can also see the Java Edition logo. It's now a lot crispier and easier to read. But the biggest change for the snapshot was the improvements made to the calibrated Sculk sensor. They improved Sculk sensors for the detection of how far something is exactly, which they use to then power this redstone here. Sculk sensors will also now strongly power the block underneath them, so this Sculk sensor can power this, which then in turn powers this redstone line, which also helps with compacting. They make calibrated Sculk sensors different than normal sensors when it comes to their cooldown. Normal Sculk sensors still take 2 seconds to cool down after they hear something, where calibrated Sculk sensors will only take 1 second cooldown. So this will actually help with this little setup here that I did, where we're trying to store in a signal of a specific type of vibration. Prior, we had to make the signal kind of bounce around for an entire 2 seconds before putting it back into the original Sculk sensor. But now with the 1 second delay, we only need to bounce around for 1 second before looping it in the circle. I explained this memory circuit as well as this vibration line and these decoders and encoders, all in this video here, which I'll link below. They also made the calibrated Sculk sensor way more OP than the normal one. The normal one can hear stuff up to 8 blocks away. So if I make a noise here, it could hear it. But they now added a buff to the calibrated one, so it can actually hear it twice as far. So if I make some noise out of this 8-meter radius sphere, you can see it's still able to actually hear it. This is what I always wanted with the original Sculk sensors, so I'm glad they're adding it to the calibrated ones. Because as I mentioned, when it comes to transporting these signals along a line, 8 blocks isn't very much. So now if we just replace this one with a calibrated one, and we can actually remove this one, and it's still able to reach all the way around. This is going to make it much more useful. This will change the power of the redstone signal that comes out of the calibrated Sculk sensor compared to the normal one when it's detecting how far something occurred relative to the sensor. As this illustration by King B-Dogs shows, because there's only 15 signals, they're now more spread out compared to with the smaller one. And they said the reason why they now are able to make the Sculk sensors listen out a further distance is that because of the better calculations in determining where things are. They added new ways to program the calibrated Sculk sensor. Before, when you would have a power source behind it, such as like this lever or this torch, it wouldn't actually stop it from listening. And only something like a redstone block would work, or something directly pointing into it. And this is how comparators would work. They could actually read signals behind them, but they could also read signals to the side if they were a redstone block. The redstone block was later added to make this type of setup more compact for comparators. It was apparently also used here in the calibrated Sculk sensors. So now any type of redstone source in the back can be used to calibrate them, including even power going into a block. So now we can calibrate them while being more compact in some situations. They improved the Sculk stuff, so now you can actually waterlog the shriekers. This won't prevent them from shrieking, but it'll just stop them from making their noise. So you can use these more stealthily. The shriekers can also be found inside of the redstone tab. Before, the new calibrated one wasn't putting off a small light level like the old one did, but now they both put off light. The resonance that comes off of a block of amethyst can now activate shriekers, as well as triggering wardens. They can also now detect players getting hurt properly. The Sculk catalyst can convert some natural blocks over into the Sculk blocks. This was actually occurring when it comes to the suspicious sand. And this is not how it was inside of the Bedrock edition, so now you can no longer convert suspicious sand accidentally. You can now place bamboo, sugarcane, as well as cactus on top of suspicious sand. The suspicious gravel will now work properly with the tool shovel, and when it appears naturally, it will be able to be cut through with caves. And they fixed it so dropping suspicious sand and logging out, and when you would log back in, the sand would actually not break upon hitting the ground, like suspicious sand is supposed to. They made it more obvious where the hidden room is within the desert temples to find the suspicious sand. So not only is the area a little bit bigger, which is covered in sand, but there always will be at least one suspicious sand, which is visible from the top. They added sniffer digging to Sculk sensors so you can actually detect it. They can also now find seeds within the mud block. When it comes to the sniffer exploring different locations to find seeds, it will now also keep track of what dimension it did this in. If you were near the world border, the sniffer would actually try to go and sniff out and dig up places outside of the world border, despite that not being possible, so it's been removed. They will also no longer continue to sniff out when they're in panic mode. When breeding two sniffers, they will now work better at coming together to produce an egg. And when they do produce an egg, they will now produce the sound as if they actually laid an egg like a chicken. When the sniffer egg gets more cracks in it, this will be considered hatching rather than the age of the egg. Mobs will now be able to pathfind properly over top of the sniffer egg, unlike before where they thought they could just walk right through it. Baby mobs have higher pitched noises than adults, and now the baby sniffer will have a higher pitched noise when digging. When given name tags, sniffer name tags will no longer clip inside their body. Look at this dinnerbone sniffer walking along. The pitcher plant's hitbox will now change as it grows up. It will also no longer allow farmland to dry out, just like other crops. Like other crops, ravagers are now able to actually destroy the pitcher plant when they trample on top of it. The pitcher plant crop had this unused texture, so now it doesn't look so ugly underneath. Then they'll be able to place blocks up against the pitcher plant just like other 2 tall flowers, when before placing a block would replace it. 2 tall flowers normally produce 2 dyes when you break them down for dye. Now this also works for the pitcher plant. And since the pitcher plant is a 2 tall plant, they put it alongside the other 2 tall vegetation. They fixed this bug that I wrote a bug report for, where you could still use up bone meal on the pitcher plant despite it not being able to grow up. So now when bone milling, it looks like this. You get up to this stage and you can't go no more. It doesn't waste any. So now hopefully they fix this bug to do with grass, where it does still waste bone meal when it's short and still can't grow up tall. Now pitcher plants as well as torch flowers can actually burn, similar to most other vegetation. Speaking of torch flowers, their hitbox also change as they grow up. Villagers are actually able to bone meal the torch flowers, but weren't able to pick up the seeds. So now villagers can actually pick up the torch flower seeds, but they're not able to actually plant them. So if they fix this, then we can have villagers automatically plant seeds, and hopefully they will automatically break them, and then we can make an automatic torch flower without using players. They addressed a bug that has been in the game since 2012. This has to do with enchanting. If I place this pickaxe in here, you can see I can only go up to level 24 enchantments. That's because there are some things blocking the enchanting table from being able to access the books, which lets you get to the higher levels. So now they made some things no longer block it. So anything that can be replaced just by clicking on it, like this grass block, won't actually interfere with the enchanting table. But something like this flower here, which we can't replace with a block, that is actually affecting it. So if we check right now, it says only level 24. If we remove this flower and I'll place it in here, you can see it can get up to enchantment level 30. So if you build your enchanting table, you don't have to worry about little things like grass interfering with it. So something like a torch will still interfere with it. There's a new command line argument called quick play. This will allow you to put in specifically if you want to be playing on like your single player world, multiplayer, or realms, specifically which one you want to be playing on, the port, the name, the game mode, as well as the last time played. Then when opening up Minecraft, it can send you directly to that specific world or server. They also gave some examples if you want to set this up, which is great for people who turn on the Minecraft game just wanting to play a specific world or server. New tables now have a new function called reference. Blocks that can be replaced by tree growth now have a new tag called replaceable trees. They also removed the replaceable plant one as it wasn't being used, but they did add in one called sword efficiency, which tell you what type of blocks can be broken more quickly using a sword. It's also possible to make clickable signs without having them be waxed. You no longer will accidentally get kicked out of editing a sign. If you get like pushed away with water or a mob, you'll also no longer be able to edit or interact with a sign if you're in adventure mode. And when you are able to wax a sign, it'll appear up in the subtitles now. They also fixed quite a few different Z fighting as well as pixels missing throughout different areas in the game. Now join me over at my Twitch live stream as we play around with these new features. The server is open to all my viewers, and you guys can find all the information on my Discord. Otherwise, check out this playlist about everything else we know about 1.20, or this one where I'm designing new farms for 1.20, which you can already start building up in your worlds. Look forward to more new redstone contraptions in the future, and I'd like to thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye!